I am making a Supreme King Draco Slayer deck profile. I figured since I had everything for the deck, I'd go ahead and try updating it, and I really like how it performs. And Draco Slayer and Supreme King are two of my favorite pendulum archetypes, so that's what kind of gave me the idea of why not play them together, since I hadn't actually tried playing a Draco Zarc deck since before Links. But anyway, this is a 42 card deck with 6 hand traps. So I figured the hand traps at least let you do something if you're going second or first to stop your opponent. But anyway, starting with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Supreme King Dragon Lightworm. Lightworm has the effect that when it's normal or special summoned, you can add a Supreme King Gate. It is Supreme King Gate, right? Okay, you can add a Supreme King Dragon or a Supreme King Gate from your deck to your hand. Or I think it can also be a face-up extra deck. Okay, now. On summon, it lets you add a Supreme King Dragon or a Supreme King Gate from your extra deck to your hand. And then immediately after it resolves, you can Synchro or Exceed summon using this card you control. And then, if it's face up in the extra deck and a pendulum monster in your field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add this card to your hand and you can use each effect once per turn. Next, I play 3 copies of Majesty Pegasus the Draco Slayer. Majesty Pegasus has the effect of being a quick effect that you can discard it so your opponent cannot target Draco Slayer monsters with card effects, nor can they be destroyed by opponent's card effects. And then if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Draco Slayer card or a pendulum monster, you can add a field spell from your deck to your hand, and then you can discard your one card. Honestly, this is only in the deck so that you can discard it so your opponent can't target or destroy your pendulum monsters with quick card effects. Then I play 3 copies of Dynamite Power Load the Draco Slayer. This monster has the effect of... It has the pendulum effect if you can target another Draco Slayer in your pendulum scale, or Draco Slayer or Dynamist in your pendulum scale and special summon it, which that's the only reason why this would be in your pendulum zone. Though most times you're just going to summon it as a monster for another name. And then it has the effect if it's tributed. You don't really tribute that often in this deck. There's like one monster you might tribute summon for. But if it's tributed, you can add a face-up Draco Slayer or Dynamist from your extra deck to your hand. Except for another copy of Dynamite Power Load the Draco Slayer. And you'll use that effect once per turn. That really is only ever used in case you need to normal summon the only monster in this deck that you would want to summon that cannot be pendulum summoned normally. But like I said, this is mainly in here just for another name, because names actually do matter with the Draco Slayers. Then I play 3 copies of Ignis Phoenix the Draco Slayer. Ignis Phoenix has the effect of, if this card in the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon Draco Slayer or Ignite from your deck, except for another Ignis. And if you do, treat it as a tuner. You'll use special once per turn. Ignis is just here because you can destroy it off of one of the extra deck monsters and use its effect on another Draco Slayer. And then you can use that for synchro summon some of your non-Draco Slayer monsters. Then I play 3 copies of Supreme King Dragon Darkworm. Darkworm has the effect that when it's normal or special summon, you can add Supreme King Gate from your deck to your hand. Which, that actually kind of does matter a bit with one monster in particular. And then it also has the effect that if you control no monsters while it's cards in your graveyard, you can special summon it from your graveyard. And you are never going to want to have this card in your pendulum scale, as you can activate its effect in your pendulum scale to then place a Supreme King Gate 0 from deck to the pendulum scale, but then you're left in the dark. And I just don't want to do that, so I don't believe I'm even playing Supreme King Gate 0. Yeah. No. Then next I play 1 copy of Vector Pendulum the Draco Slayer. Or the Draco Overlord, I mean. This card has the effect while it's in your pendulum scale to negate the effects of your opponent's pendulum zones. Which, that hardly ever comes up. The only time it does matter is when it's against another pendulum deck, which most of the time right now is when it's super heavy cards. Then I play 3 copies of Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. Luster Pendulum has the pendulum effect of you can just, while you have a Draco Slayer in your other pendulum scale, you can destroy it, and if you do, add another monster from your deck to your hand that has that same name. Or, you don't just have to be a Draco Slayer, you can destroy it. If you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you can destroy it, and if you do, add a monster with the same name from your deck to your hand. And then its other effect is it cannot be used for the fusion, synchro, or Xyz summon of a monster unless it is a Draco Slayer. Which, that's the reason why Ignis's effect matters, of being able to do something like summon Master Pendulum, Treat as a Tuner, or any of the others. Then I play 1 copy of Electro Pendulum, the Draco Overlord. Electro Pendulum has the effect that while it's in your pendulum scale, it negates the effects of all your opponent's pendulum monsters. And then it also has the effect at the start of the damage step. If this card battles a pendulum monster, destroy both that monster and this card. Honestly, Electro Pendulum and Vector Pendulum could be taken out, but they are still kind of important for one of the spell cards, so that's the only reason they're actually being played. Then I play 3 copies of Master Pendulum, the Draco Slayer. This card just has the pendulum effect of, while it's in your pendulum zone, you can target 1 card in your pendulum zones and destroy it, which you never use that effect. And then for another one I play 1 copy of Supreme King Gate Magician. This card just has the effect that when it's special summoned, you can add a spell or trap in your deck to your hand that mentions Supreme King Zarc. Then I play 1 copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This card's only in here for one of the, I believe it's going to be the last card I go over in the main deck. But it has the pendulum effect of you can, during the end phase, you can destroy it to then add a pendulum monster from your deck to your hand that has 1500 or less attack. Which is like 6 monsters. Maybe 9. And then its other effect is if it deals damage while battling a monster, it inflicts double damage. But like I said, it's mainly here for one of the trap cards. Then I play 1 copy of Supreme King Dragon Odd Eyes. This card's main effect is just while it's on the field, any battle damage your pendulum monsters inflict while battling a monster is doubled. However, it is level 8, so it's the only monster in this deck that's actually difficult to pendulum summon, as your scales are usually 3 and 8. And I don't think there's a way to manipulate the pendulum scales in this deck, but this is normally summoned off of Supreme King Zarc, or you're tribute summoning it by attributing something like Dynamite and something else. But 9 times out of 10, you're summoning this off of Zarc. Then for the hand traps, just because it's really good right now, I play 3 copies of Droll and Lockburn. This just makes it so if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand outside of during their main phase, then you can discard it to then make it so your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to their hand for the rest of the turn. The only reason I mentioned during the main phase is because I tried to use Droll and Lockbird during the draw phase against someone playing Fire King, and I didn't realize it could only be activated during main phase, so they were able to play around it. Then I also play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This just makes it so that you can discard it when your opponent would try to add a card from deck to hand, summon from deck, or send from deck to grave. Then for the spells, I play 1 copy of Pendulum Evolution and 1 copy of Miracle Synchro Fusion. Pendulum Evolution has the effect that once per turn, you can shuffle a pendulum monster from your hand into your deck to add a pendulum monster that has 2500 or more attack from your deck to your hand. Which, usually if you're doing that, you're going to you're going to be putting something back like Supreme King Dragon Odd Eyes to add Supreme King Gate Magician. But that effect isn't normally used. It does have the effect that if you summon a monster from your extra deck that is a pendulum monster that was originally face down, Then you can immediately after this effect resolves, Pendulum Summon. And then its last effect, which is the one I really like for this deck, is you can target one Supreme King Zarc you control to have it be able to attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Then I play 3 copies of Draco Face-Off. Draco Face-Off lets you reveal a Draco Slayer and a Drake Overlord from your deck. This card is the reason why you're playing the 1 Vector and Lector. And with the card I just talked about being the Pendulum Evolution, you can put if they're in your hand, you can put them back in the deck to then add Gate Magician, Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, or Supreme King Dragon Odd Eyes if you have to. But basically what works is your opponent chooses one at random. The chosen card, I always get it mixed up. Let's see. Okay. Your opponent chooses one at random. The one they choose either gets summoned or placed in your Pendulum Zone. And the other one goes face up to your extra deck. And you can only activate the 1 Draco Face-Off per turn. And just because I realized I forgot about it, Miracle Synchro Fusion just lets you fusion summon monsters, or a fusion monster by banishing monsters from your field or grave, as long as that fusion monster mentions using a synchro monster, which Supreme King Zarc does. Supreme King Zarc requires a Dragon Pendulum monster, a Dragon Fusion, a Dragon Synchro, and a Dragon Xyz monster. So Miracle Synchro Fusion does work. Then I play 3 copies of Wings of Light. Wings of Light just lets you add a Supreme King Dragon or Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, but if you control Supreme King Zarc, then you can summon it instead. And then for the traps, I play the 1 copy of Miracle of the Supreme King. Miracle of the Supreme King has the effect that if you control Supreme King Zarc, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only activate 1 per turn, so you can only... if you have 3 of these, you can't activate all 3 and use all 3 of the effects. The usual effect you're going to use is to destroy a Supreme King Zarc you control. And if you do, special summon an Odd Eyes Pendulum monster or a light Supreme King Zarc from your deck or extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions, which that's the usual one you're going to use, because that'll then put Supreme King Zarc in your Pendulum Zone, and then you just are able to just negate stuff. Then I play 1 copy of Soul of the Supreme Celestial King. Soul of the Supreme Celestial King lets you tribute a Spellcaster Pendulum monster that has 2,500 original attack to then fusion summon a Supreme King Zarc from your extra deck by banishing materials from your deck, field, graveyard. What all did I mention? I always forget what this lists. Banish from your hand, deck, extra deck, field, and or graveyard, but it negates effects unless you banished a Pendulum Dragon, Fusion Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and Xyz Dragon. Which normally you're going to negate its effects so that you can use Miracle of the Supreme King. Which, if that's all, the only reason though that Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon is in this deck is for Soul of the Supreme Celestial King, so that you will be able to summon a Supreme King Zarc with its effects not negated in case you need it. Though usually you don't, because you also have Miracle of the Supreme King. But that is it for the main deck. Like I said, the main deck is 42 cards, so you don't have to play Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And technically, what's another card that I would take out first? You also don't really need to play Miracle Synchro Fusion, so there's 2 cards you could take out immediately. But I like playing them, and that's just... Anyway, for the extra deck, I play the 1 copy of Beyond the Pendulum. This is the only Link monster in the extra deck. But Beyond the Pendulum has the effect that when it's Link summoned, you can pay 1,200 life points to add a Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. And then if 2 monsters are Pendulum summoned to zone it points to that have different levels, you can activate its effect to destroy 2 cards your opponent controls. And you can only use each effect to Beyond the Pendulum once per turn. And one thing I did forget to mention is, after you use its search effect, your cards and then effects for that turn are negated until you Pendulum summon. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to use its search effect. Then I play 2 copies of Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer. Magister Paladin has the effect that when exceeds summon, you can activate its effect. So at the end of the turn, you can add any pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, you can detach material to then special summon a sub Draco Slayer monster from your extra deck. And then you will use each effect of Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer, once per turn. Then I play 1 copy of Supreme King Dragon Dark Rebellion. This card has the effect that you can detach a material. When it battles a monster, you can detach material to then reduce that monster's attack to 0, and then Dark Rebellion gains that monster's original attack until the end of the turn. Then I play 1 copy of Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Again, this is just in here because you can use it for Solo Supreme Celestial King, but you can also summon it and use its effect, which is once per turn, you can detach 2 materials from this card, target 1 monster your opponent controls, have its attack, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's attack. It just lets you steal half a monster's attack till the end of the turn. Right? No, it does not until the end of the turn. It's just a permanent attack boost. Then I play 1 copy of Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. Clearwing has the effect of when it's synchro summon, destroys all face-up monsters your opponent controls. And then when it battles a monster at the start of the damage step, you can activate Supreme King Dragon Clearwing's effect to then be able to destroy that monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. Which, I honestly really like that effect of Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. I just wish it had I just wish that anime card that was used with it, I believe it was Supreme Presence. It would just make it so that Clearwing can attack it just changes Clearwing's effect to destroys all monsters your opponent controls. And then deals damage equal to the one with the highest original attack. Then I play 1 copy of Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Again, this is just for the Soul Supreme Celestial King, and is extremely difficult to make in this deck as it is a level 7 Synchro. Then I play 2 copies of Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer. This card is one of the best monsters in the deck, as it has the effect that once per turn you can special summon a Draco Slayer from your deck. However, if you do, that Draco Slayer cannot be used for a Synchro Summon. That's also something I forgot to mention about Magister Paladin. The monster summoned off of its effect cannot be used for Xyz Summon. And then, Ignister Prominence has the other effect of being able to target a pendulum monster on the field or in the pendulum zones. It can be either side of the field or a pendulum zone. Destroy it, and if you do, shuffle 1 monster your opponent controls back into the deck. Which that's part of the reason why this is one of the best monsters, just because it's a non-targeting shuffle back, which I absolutely love. Then I play 2 copies of Dinosaur Power, the Mighty Draco Slayer. Dinosaur Power has the effect that once per turn, you can special summon a Draco Slayer from your graveyard, and then it cannot be used for a fusion material for the rest of the turn. Also, you can use fusion summon it by just tributing the above monsters, which is a Draco Slayer and a Pendulum monster. And its final effect makes it so that, what was it? Pendulum monster cards in your monster zones and pendulum zones cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is really good, just because it makes so that your opponent can't just do something like Twin Twister your pendulum zones away, or they can't destroy your pendulum zones, which is really good. Then I play 1 copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Again, this is just in here for Soul Supreme Celestial King. So technically, if you don't want to play the Dimensional Dragons, that gives you 1 spot in the main deck and 3 in the extra deck for anything you want. Which, honestly, I'm probably going to end up taking them out anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, then for the last 3 spots, I play 2 copies of Supreme King Zarc. Supreme King Zarc has the effect that when it cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And then when it's fusion summoned, it destroys all cards your opponent controls. If it destroys a monster at battle, you can special summon a Supreme King Dragon from your extra deck, graveyard, or main deck. And then if it's destroyed, you can place it in your Pendulum Scale. I believe I need to remember how that's worded specifically. This card is most destroy battle card effect. You can place card. Yeah, and then its pendulum effect makes it so that the effects of your opponent's fusion, synchro, and exceeds monsters are negated. And then once per turn, if a card is added from your opponent's deck to their hand, you can destroy that card or cards. Or I think that's how it works. It's either destroy all the cards or destroy one of those cards. Let's see. Yeah, you destroy those cards. So if your opponent activates something like Pot of Extravagance, banishing 6 at random, draw 2, you can use Zarc to destroy those 2 cards. Or Pot of Desires, draw 2, destroy those 2 cards. Or one thing I actually did was against Numeron. I had Zarc. They activate Memories of Hope. So they got to draw 4 cards, but then Zarc's Pendulum's effect immediately destroyed all 4 of those cards. And then the final card for the extra deck is the 1 copy of Odd Eyes Archray Dragon. Odd Eyes Archray has the effect that you can special summon it by tributing a Supreme King Zarc. And then, let's see, what was it? What would you get? If this card is special summon from the extra deck, you can place 1 Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum Zone, and then if this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place it in your Pendulum Zone. Honestly, Archray is not the best, but I do like its Pendulum effect when you can have Odd Eyes Archray and Supreme King Zarc in your Pendulum Zones. And then Odd Eyes Archray's Pendulum effect is if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum Zone, you can special summon this card, then you can apply this effect. Or you can shuffle 1 card from your Pendulum Zone into the deck, and then if it was added to the extra deck, you can special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions, which that's the main thing, because if you have both of these in your Pendulum Zones, you can special summon Archray, and then Archray will return Zarc to the extra deck, and then special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. Which will give you 2 4,000 bodies for no reason, which I absolutely love. But anyway, that's it for my Draco Zarc deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks I can see be made in the future, or decks I can see face each other, feel free to comment down below. And thank you so much for watching.